Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayom Vishupad Paramahamsa Bhadivraja Kacharya Ashvatara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishupad Paramahamsa Bhadivraja Kacharya Ashvatara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavana Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kundgiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai, Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi, all glory to the Sambhavatis, all glory to the Sambhavatis, all glory to the Sambhavatis. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutade, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Prachadine, Nirvesesha Sunyavadi Pastyatare Ratarine. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Skanda, 11th chapter, sloka number 19. Saha Anantaha Antakaraha Kalaha Anadihi Adikrit Avyayaha Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityuna Antakam Sonantuntakkarakalo Anadiradikritavyayah Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Sonantuntakkarakalo Anadiradikritavyayah Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Sonantuntakkarakalo Anadiradikritavyayah Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Bhagavad Gita is there. Vaishnavis, Saha, he, Anantaha, infinite, Antakaraha, annihilator, Kalaha, time, Anadihi, without beginning, Adikrit, beginning of everything, Avyayaha, without decrease, Janam, living entities, Janena, by living entities, Janayan, causing to be born, Marayan, killing, Mrityuna, by death, Antakam, killers. Translation. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time, he is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything, nor is he ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death. But he is perpetually free of birth and death. Please repeat. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time. He is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything. Nor is he ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death. But he is perpetually free of birth and death. Sri Sri Gauranitai ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The supreme authority and inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be minutely studied from this verse. He is always unlimited. That means that He has no creation, no end. He is, however, death in the form of time, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, I am death. I take away everything at the end of life. Eternal time is also without beginning, but it is the creator of all creatures. The example is given of touchstone, which creates many valuable stones and jewels, but does not decrease in power. Similarly, creation occurs many times. Everything is maintained, and after a time, everything is annihilated. But the original Creator, the Supreme Lord, remains untouched and undiminished in power. The secondary creation is made by Brahma, but Brahma is created by the Supreme Godhead. Lord Shiva annihilates the whole creation, but at the end he is also annihilated by Vishnu. Lord Vishnu remains. In the Vedic hymns, it is stated that in the beginning there is only Vishnu and that He alone remains at the end. An example can help us to understand the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord. In the recent history of warfare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead created a Hitler and before that a Napoleon Bonaparte, and they each killed many living entities in war. But in the end, Bonaparte and Hitler were also killed. People are still very much interested in writing and reading books about Hitler and Bonaparte and how they killed so many people in war. Year after year, many books are published for public reading regarding Hitler's killing thousands of Jews in confinement. But no one is researching who killed Hitler and who created such a gigantic killer of human beings. The devotees of the Lord are not much interested in the study of the flickering history of the world. They are interested only in Him, who is the original creator, maintainer, and annihilator. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Dhyananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudhapadakamaram Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Sri Visakam Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinaki Jai Sri Sri Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are following the teachings of Swayambhuva Manu to his grandson Dhruva Maharaj. This is a very wonderful exposition of the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It may be questioned that why Manu is talking about this to Dhruva. The circumstances may not appear very favorable for spiritual instruction in this, because Dhruva was engaged in killing. And on the advice of Swayambhuva Manu, he already stopped the fight and he is now ready to listen. So, on the one hand, the circumstances are very unfavorable, but on the other hand, it seems that Dhruva Maharaj is ready to listen to Swayambhuva Manu about the spiritual instructions. Just as on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, one may wonder why such a spiritual lecture was given when everybody is ready to fight and to kill each other. This doesn't seem to be very favorable circumstance. But Lord Krishna made it favorable. He gave Arjuna the occasion to hear. Arjuna was in great anxiety. His mind was completely disturbed by the circumstances. And this was a favorable moment to give Arjuna spiritual knowledge so that he may change his life forever. Similarly here, Dhruva engaged in fighting and killing, but now he is ready to listen to Swayambhuva Manu about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada gives a quotation from Bhagavad Gita in the purport that I am death, I take away everything at the end of life. This is from Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, sloka number 34. Mrityu sarvaharascha udbhavascha bhavishyatam. Lord Krishna says that I am the all-devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. So Lord Krishna is the origin, and He is the end of everything. He is controlling the entire creation. Dead matter and the living entities are under the command of the Supreme Lord, ultimately. As Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha. Is the origin of everything. He has no origin for himself. Adi. And he is the Supreme Lord of everything and everybody. So this is the inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In another sloka, Lord Krishna says that Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, 11th chapter, 32nd sloka, Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravidho. That means the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. So Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that even if you are not ready to fight and to kill your enemies, I have already decided that all these people assembled in Kurukshetra are going to be killed. So there's nothing that can stop this death. Time is supreme. Nobody can stop the advance of time. Time creates and destroys. That is the representation of the Supreme Lord. Those who are atheists, who do not believe in God, they may say that there is no God, no, we are doing everything ourselves. But when death comes, they have to surrender. They may not be able to think of God at that time, but they are thinking, why time is coming? I have so many years yet to come. Why time is ending my life now? I don't want to die now. But time is supreme. Nobody can stop the advance of time. So the atheists are defeated at least at the end of their lives. They struggle throughout their lives for happiness, and then at the time of death, they have to surrender. So either we surrender now, or we have already surrendered, or we surrender at the time of death. Anyhow, any time, we should take the opportunity which is favorable in order to surrender to the Supreme Personality of God, that nobody can dispute His power in the ultimate analysis. Srila Prabhupada makes his comment about the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord that has been challenged by so many heroes of history. Heroes in the history of mankind, they try to become very big, bigger than what they can do, and they wanted to impose their will on others, conquering so many other kingdoms, territories, and become very famous in the history of mankind. There have been so many of them. In particularly every country, there has been great heroes. Prabhupada mentions two of them, Hitler, Napoleon. Hitler in Germany, he wanted to impose his will by killing unrestrictedly, especially the Jewish population. He was thinking that the Jews are capturing the power, they have the money, they have the power, and they are not doing any good for the people. They are very selfish and so on. And their past history is also not good. So Hitler wanted to annihilate the entire Jewish population, and he kidnapped, taken them prisoners, and putting them in concentration camps, death camps in Germany, and many millions of them were killed in these camps. So that is one example of a great demon who has been able to exercise his power for a few years, maybe 10 years or so. He was very powerful, and he could challenge all the other countries in Europe by his powerful army. But what happened at the end? He was defeated. He took refuge in a bunker underground, in a cave underground, and he committed suicide. Everybody knows the history. It is very suitable way of ending committing suicide. For such a great demon, it was a suitable way of dying, because he did so much sin that he should not live anymore. So that is one example. Another example, Srila Prabhupada mentions about Napoleon. That was at the beginning of at the end of the 18th century, beginning of 19th century. Napoleon, born in Corsica, at the southern end of France in the sea. And he became famous. He raised an army against the French government. He became ultimately the leader in France, and he started to conquer other countries, including Germany, Italy. And for some years, he was victorious in many battles. So he became more and more puffed up and thinking that he is invincible. So he thought, why not going against Russia? So he took his army, and he went towards Russia at the beginning of 19th century. And he had started his conquest in the month of July, and when he entered into the Russian country, it was November. November, December in Russia, you can just imagine, that is very, very cold. Minus 20, minus 30. Russia is very cold country in winter. So he was completely bewildered, and he entered into the Russian country in the month of November, and he started his way towards Moscow and so on. So at the beginning he was also victorious, but gradually his soldiers became completely frozen and they could not reach Moscow. They were completely annihilated by the cold of the winter season in Russia. So there was the famous saying that this Napoleon, he could conquer all the countries, but he was defeated by General Winter. General Winter. That is time. Time, there is seasons are rotating, and when the winter is coming, then that is very dangerous, especially Russia and other northern countries. So he was defeated by time. Time, cold, winter season. So he was captured, later on he was captured by the British army and sent to some island in the Atlantic Ocean, and there after a few years he passed away. He was completely forgotten by everybody else. So this is the destiny of these famous personalities. There are many others in Mongolia. Genghis Khan, he was a great conqueror, and Julius Caesar, he made the Roman Empire very famous. Then there was Alexander the Great. He came all the way from Persia and all the way to India. He started to come with his army in India, and he conquered some of the territories in the northern side. But he was also annihilated. He had to go back, and he was completely defeated, conquering so many countries, and then he could not maintain what he had conquered. So he lost everything. That's why Srila Prabhupada sometimes was telling that don't make me Alexander the Great. Don't make me. Speaking to his disciples. What is the meaning of this? The disciples were very enthusiastic. Prabhupada will establish Iskcon here, Iskcon there. There. So many Iskcon centers will be in every country very fast. They wanted to establish Iskcon centers everywhere. So Prabhupada told them, don't make me Alexander the Great. So Prabhupada has a very great sense of history. That is very important subject matter. For those who are living in the material world, one should know the history of mankind, so we can draw lessons and come to the higher level of understanding, the spiritual understanding. Why is it that all the famous men in history have gone now into oblivion? They have been forgotten. They have lost their kingdoms, their property, their power, and they have been reduced to some one word in the history book or one line in the history book? Why is it that they become very prominent and then they disappear in the history according to the time factor? So that's a very important lesson that Prabhupada is giving us in the purport, that one should not be enamored by these great heroes. One should know who is the hero, the real hero, who has no beginning, who has no end, who is ever famous. That is Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, who is engineering the complete history from the beginning of creation till the end of annihilation, and is appointing some of his associates, Brahma and Lord Shiva. Brahma looking after the creation, Lord Shiva looking after destruction. So everything is under the will of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is the maintainer. And at the end, everybody disappears. For some time, again, there is a creation at the will of the Lord after some time has elapsed. So this is the real history. What we know in the history book, History of Mankind, that is very insignificant. One should know the real hero, the real history, where is the real power, the real powerful. That should be the knowledge that everybody should have, so that we can conduct our lives accordingly, surrendering ourselves and engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord. So that is the... I remember that from my personal life, I was sent to school at the age of 5. And I was given one book. That book's in French, La Miche de Pain. And the first page, when you open the book, it's a big book like this, 500 pages about, containing all the knowledge about mankind and humanity and human civilization. And on the first page, there is God with the Supreme Controller. So that was my first lesson of my schooling day. So that is very good. That's good education, starting to understand that behind everything there is the Supreme Personality of God that apparently we cannot see. Where is God? We don't see. When the Russian astronauts, cosmonauts, they went on the higher sky with a rocket, and they went very high, maybe 50,000 kilometers or more than that into the space. And then after a few days, after rotating against the Earth, the planet, they came back to Russia. And so all the reporters, and all their friends, they came to receive them. So everybody was very enthusiastic to have their comments. So these Russian cosmonauts, they said that for some people think that God is there in the higher sky, but we have not seen God. We have not seen. There is no God. That is the atheist propaganda of the Russian government. That is the official dogma, that we have not seen God, so there is no God. How can they see God? They don't have the eyes to see. Sometimes Prabhupada was asked the question, Swamiji, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen God? So Prabhupada, do you have these eyes to see? First of all, we should have the eyes to see. We should have the mind to understand. Then only we can become God conscious. And that is possible by the Lord's mercy. And if a person is fortunate to meet a pure devotee of the Lord, then he can receive this knowledge and he can change his life. Otherwise, everything remains material, just like animal life. They have no understanding of God. They cannot accept any such teachings, spiritual teachings. They are busy with their bodily maintenance. So if human beings are also living the same as the animals, then they are not human beings. They have failed in achieving the goal of human life. So all these great heroes, Prabhupada mentions them, and there are many others also. They could not fulfill the human mission, even though they may have conquered different territories, but at the end they had to give up everything and die by the force of time. So that is the lesson we can derive. And Dhruva Maharaj should know that he should surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is already a devotee of the Lord, so he should never forget that at every moment we should think of the Lord, who is the prime mover. He is the cause of all causes, Sarvakaranam Karanam. So Prabhupada said that is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Everybody is forgetful of Krishna, and we are struggling for our life. And then at the end, we are taken away by death. We cannot fight. You go to hospital, best hospital, you get the best doctor, no, you get the best medicine, treatment, but operation was successful. Unfortunately, the patient died. So that is the lesson we should take from this statement of Swayambhuva Manu. Nobody can conquer death. Everybody should become a devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. I came to know that today is the initiation day of yours. Today you got initiated from His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Can you share some memories, Prabhu, regarding this? And
yes, Srila Prabhupada was kind, very, very merciful. He gave Diksha today in 1972 to some of the aspiring disciples. We were about a dozen or so. And it was in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada had come along with some of his disciples from America, Europe. And we had come from India. I had come from Calcutta. Lokanath had come from Bombay and some others. And today, Srila Prabhupada gave Diksha in this way to these aspiring disciples. Pardon? Yeah, 1972, November, at the time of the program that was in the Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada used to give lecture on the nectar of devotion and Srimad Bhagavatam, I think. So morning and evening lectures were there. So after the morning lecture, there was initiation ceremony. So that is very auspicious today. That was the best day, Rasa Lila, that was Kartik Purnima, Rasa Purnima, and the best place, Radha Damodar temple, in front of Rupa Goswami, Bhajan Kutir, and Samadhi. So we are very fortunate to have received Diksha at that time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, I remember Lokanath.